Hi everyone, I'm Sal, co-creator of Salt and Pepper Productions, and I'm back with another The Promised Neverland video. It's been a year since Russ and I reviewed the first season of the anime, and with season 2 approaching, now is probably a good time to make more The Promised Neverland content. Today, I'm going to analyze the anime's opening credits sequence. This video will be very similar to my Angels of Death opening analysis. I'll go through the entire opening and note some of the symbolism and hints of foreshadowing we see in each shot. I did a little bit of research to help me identify potential symbolism, so I'll leave links to all my sources in the description in case you want to check them out. I'll be referencing plot points from the show throughout the video, so if you don't want to be spoiled, I suggest you click off now and come back after watching the show. With all of that out of the way, let's get started. The screen is black at the very start of the opening credits sequence, but then a lantern fades into view. The shot of the lantern transitions to a shot of inside the house. We get a glimpse of the top of some stairs before the camera makes a sharp right turn and proceeds down a dark hallway. Eventually, the main trio, Ray, Emma, and Norman, come into view. The camera pans upward to get a close-up of Emma's eye. We then cut to a shot of one of those flower tools the demons use to suck blood and bodily fluids out of the children and adults they harvest. The flowers are closed and their petals are white, indicating that the instrument hasn't been used yet. We then cut to a shot of a white butterfly. As the butterfly flutters across the screen, there's a sudden flash of white light and 3 of its wings come off its body, almost as if someone or something shot them off. If I remember correctly, the only time we see butterflies in the show is during Isabella's flashback in the final episode, and during both versions of the closing credits sequence. Also, the word butterfly is referenced in the opening song's lyrics. In my Angels of Death video, I used the University of Michigan's Dictionary of Symbolism as a source. Here's what the Dictionary of Symbolism had to say about butterflies. In its metamorphosis from the common colorless caterpillar to the exquisite winged creature of delicate beauty, the butterfly has become a metaphor for transformation and hope. Across cultures, it has become a symbol for rebirth and resurrection, for the triumph of the spirit and the soul over the physical prison, the material world. Among the ancients, it is an emblem of the soul and of unconscious attraction towards light. It is the soul as the opposite of the worm, and so on and so forth. Based on that entire passage, this shot could be interpreted a few different ways. Going off of the metamorphosis and transformation bit, the butterfly's wings breaking off could represent the children who were killed before they could fully mature. Going off of the soul bit, Isabella and Sister Crone sold their souls, or as Russ put it, abandoned their humanity, for their own survival. So this shot could represent the destruction of their souls. In our review, Russ noted how different scenes and plot points made the entire situation feel hopeless. So going off of the hope bit and the triumph bit, the butterfly losing its wings could represent how certain characters thought escaping was impossible. It could represent the setbacks and the blows to the children's escape plans. We then cut to a shot of Emma running towards the camera. The camera is close to her face. As she runs, these dark vines or shadows appear and wrap themselves around her. The camera cuts to a side view of the same scene. The vines or shadows pull Emma down until she is out of sight. As this happens, Emma's arm remains outstretched as if she's trying to reach something or stay above the surface. Next, we cut to a shot of the house as the sun appears on the horizon. We then cut to a shot of the sun peeking through the trees. The camera then cuts to a shot of birds taking flight before quickly cutting to another shot, a wide shot, of the birds flying over the trees. I talked about bird and feather symbolism in my Angels of Death opening analysis. According to whatsyoursign.com, one of the sources I used for that video, birds represent freedom, inspiration, and travel, which is fitting given that the show's primary focus is escaping from the house. The Dictionary of Symbolism notes that birds can also represent elevated thought and the ability to think out many things in advance before taking action. So the birds could be a reference to the children's ability to strategize. Next, we cut to a shot of Ray, Emma, and Norman on a tree branch. The boys are sitting on the branch and Emma is standing on the branch. Their backs are facing the camera. We can also see the birds from the previous shots flying in the top right corner. The title of the show appears at the center of the screen and then it fades away. We then cut to a side view of the trio staring straight ahead. We get a nice close-up of Norman and Ray's profiles and then the camera pans up to reveal Emma's profile. Next, we cut to a shot of a lit match. As the match burns, as the flame travels towards the other end, the wood begins to curl in on itself. The word fire pops up in the opening song's lyrics several times, and the children set the house on fire in episode 11. Next, we get a short montage featuring Emma jumping around, hugging the younger children and her friends. This sequence gets across the type of character she is. Very happy, very energetic, and very loving. The background remains consistent as the short montage plays. The background appears to be a storage room. There are boxes and crates everywhere. Some of the boxes are made of cardboard with white labels. Others appear to be covered by sheets. You can also see what looks like a round table, a large mirror or picture frame, and a baby carriage. There's also a door off to the side. In the show, the children made a rope out of sheets and tablecloths, which they retrieved from a storage room. If you examine the scene where Emma and Norman retrieve their supplies in episode 2, you can see cardboard boxes with labels and you can see crates covered by sheets. It's the same room from different angles. Next, we get a short montage featuring Norman. There's a lot to cover here because the wall behind him is covered with paper. Most of the items taped or pinned to the wall appear to be drawings or notes created by the children. This sheet of paper appears to have images of the flower tool on it. This sheet of paper appears to have a drawing of Connie's favorite toy, Little Bunny, and some other stuffed animals. Maybe they're the other toys Isabella keeps in her hidden underground room. I'm not sure why the paper says hand, though. Another sheet of paper says test score and has a drawing of a graph or table organizing the children's test scores, similar to the ones we see in the actual show. Another sheet of paper says perfect score with Ray, Norman, and Emma's ID numbers on them. There's also a drawing of Ray with his ID number. Another sheet of paper says never lose. There also appears to be a small envelope with the words don't open on it. This sheet of paper appears to have the year 2045 on it. which is the year most of the story takes place in. This sheet of paper appears to say, "Let me hear from you." 2 sheets of paper have images of the owl we see on the book plates from the library books. The larger sheet of paper has some writing on it, but it's hard to tell what it says. I can't quite make out this first part. I think it's either an A, an A+, an M, or an N. This part says ex libris. In the show, we see the phrase ex libris on the owl book plates. It's Latin for book plate, from books, or from the library of. I think this next part says the Malufo Code. Malufo means death, so this line translates to the death code, which is fitting because each book plate has a message written in Morse code, and each message is designed to warn the children about the house. Speaking of Morse code, you can see a Morse code reference sheet near the large owl sheet. This looks similar to the reference book Norman used in the show. Moving back to the large owl sheet. This part down here appears to say "that helps to solve," and then the rest is blocked by the test score sheet. I'm not sure what this last part says, but it looks like either the letters PLD or PLO. The rest is blocked by the test score sheet. Over here we see another large sheet of paper, which displays both a drawing and a floor plan of the house. Some of the locations in and around the house have been labeled. Some of the writing is too small to make out, but the words entrance, dining room, and cedar are legible. In the show, we see a much smaller and simpler floor plan of the house, which the children used to discover Isabella's secret rooms. Most of the items in the background are sheets of paper, but you can also see a pair of scissors, a fork, and a little baggie with some writing on it. I'm guessing the scissors are meant to signify the children's desire to cut ties with Isabella and the house so they can escape. In our review, Russ and I talked about the food symbolism we've noticed in the show. This fork is probably another piece of food symbolism. As for this little baggie, we see little pouches like this hanging on the walls inside the house. This entire collage appears to be placed directly on top of a map. Over here you can make out the H in South and most of America. And over here, you can make out the first 4 letters of the word Africa. You can also make out some of the borders. In the show, we see a world map hanging on the wall in the library, but the text and the images are in darker colors. One more thing before moving on. At the very start of the final episode, the only episode that doesn't show the opening credits sequence, we see a collage that looks similar to the one I just analyzed. One notable difference between the collage in the opening credits and the collage in the final episode is that the former has a drawing of Ray, but the latter has a drawing of Emma. The collage in the final episode also has an envelope that says "no letter," a nod to the fact that the children never received letters from those who left the house, i.e., those who were shipped out. Following the Norman montage, we get a short montage featuring Ray. We see him flipping through a book, and at one point he walks by and reaches his hand towards the camera as if he's trying to cover the lens with his palm. There are several large gears in the background. This could be a nod to his knowledge of machines, which he used to create the little gadget that turns off the tracking devices. Also, the gears in the opening look similar to the gears on the ceiling of the gate that leads to headquarters. We know that Ray has memories from before he was born. He remembers being in headquarters and being sent to Plant 3. So maybe these gears are a reference to Ray's memories of what's on the other side of the gate. One more thing before we move on. The walls in the background for all three montages look like jigsaw puzzles. While looking up puzzle symbolism, I came across a website that said, puzzles in dreams represent mental challenges or problems that you need to solve in waking life. So the puzzle imagery in these shots could represent how the characters need to use their brains and strategize to escape from the farm. Next, we get two shots of everyone who lived in the house at Plant 3, both the children and the adults. They are standing together as if for a group photo. They are standing in front of one of those height walls you would see in a prison, which makes sense because everyone is a prisoner in this world. As Russ said in our review, the adults who are still alive are the demon's tools. The children aren't the only ones who are trapped. Next, we cut to a close-up of the ID number tattooed on Emma's neck. The ID numbers are meant to signify the fact that the children are merchandise, but you could also perceive them as prison numbers. Next, we cut to Emma, who is sitting alone with her arms crossed on top of her knees. Next, the camera cuts to Dawn, who's standing in front of the height wall. Then the camera quickly pans to the left, revealing Gilda. Next, we get another shot of a white butterfly fluttering across the screen. We then get two shots of Isabella standing in front of the height wall. The first shot is a close-up of her face. She's looking down, and as she tilts her head upward, she closes her eyes. We then cut to the wide shot of Isabella. We can now see that she is holding her tracking device. Her eyes remain closed as she snaps the lid shut. We suddenly cut back to the butterfly as its wings are shot off its body. Next, we cut to a close-up of Sister Crone's face. As she leans forward, moving closer to the camera, she smirks. We then cut to a wide shot of Sister Crone with some of the younger children. She outstretches her arms and captures the children in a large embrace. Next, we cut to a shot of one of the windows in the house. Outside the window, you can see the moon, a waxing crescent. According to the Dictionary of Symbolism, the moon can represent aging, the stages of life, or the passage of time. In particular, it says that a waxing crescent represents youth and adolescence. So perhaps this moon represents the children living in the house. The Dictionary of Symbolism also notes that the moon can represent inner knowledge, that horoscopes identify the moon as a symbol of one's ability to reflect and adapt. This fits the children's ability to strategize and adjust their escape plans. Since the moon can represent the passage of time, this shot might also be here to alert us that the children have a limited amount of time before the next harvest. Next, we see the flower instrument in use. The petals start off white, but they begin to turn red. The flowers bloom slowly, but then they suddenly pop open all the way. Next, we cut to the main trio. They appear to be standing in a circle. Emma's back is facing the camera, so we can only see Ray and Norman's faces. There's a red outline, a fuse, slowly moving across the screen like a wave. The fuse could be another nod to the house fire and the song lyrics, or, like the moon, it could be a reference to the passage of time, to the fact that the children are running out of time. Next, we cut to the match we saw earlier. We see the end get completely consumed by fire. We cut back to the trio and the fuse. This time, we can see Emma's face. Her expression is very serious. Her frown turns into a smile, and then she steps forward towards Norman and Ray. We cut to Emma's outstretched hand, and the boys place their hands on top of Emma's. We cut to the red fuse. As the spark travels down the fuse, it quickly disintegrates. The screen fades to white, and then we see the main trio running through the forest, bouncing off the ground, doing flips over rocks, and swinging through the trees. Next, we get a shot of the children standing behind a chain link fence and a pile of overturned desks and chairs. The children have serious, determined expressions on their faces. The chain link fence resembles the wire coverings that are placed over the house windows. At first, I thought the overturned desks and chairs were the desks and chairs we saw in the testing room. Since the children know that the adults ship them out based on their test scores, I thought the overturned desks and chairs were meant to represent their determination to get away, to leave the farm before the next shipment claims another child. However, when I re-watched the testing scene, I noticed that the chairs don't look like the chairs we see in the opening. You don't get a very clear view of the desks in the pile of rubble, but it mostly looks like wood, where the desks in the show look more high-tech. Even if they aren't the same, this could still be a visual representation of the children's rebellion. Next, we cut to a white background and we see somebody's shoe step into a puddle. Next, we cut to the main trio. Emma is at the center with Ray to her right and Norman to her left. Their hair and clothes are flapping in the breeze as they start to charge towards the camera. As they charge, the camera focuses on Emma, who swings her clenched fist forward as if she's about to punch something. Next, we cut to a wide shot of the trio breaking through the wall of puzzle pieces. The camera cuts to a close-up of the trio, who are still moving forward. Ray and Norman are smiling and their eyes are open, but Emma's eyes are closed. The camera cuts to a close-up of Emma's profile. She opens her eyes and stares straight ahead in awe. We cut away from the trio and see another white butterfly flutter out into the light. Unlike the butterflies we saw earlier, this butterfly remains unharmed as the opening credits sequence comes to a close. If the puzzle imagery from earlier is meant to represent the challenges and obstacles the trio faced, then their breaking through a wall of puzzles must represent the completion of their escape plan. It must represent their success, their ability to overcome those obstacles. And if the butterflies from earlier are meant to represent the children who have been killed, this butterfly must represent the children who escaped in the final episode. Perhaps this butterfly represents their triumph over the adults and the demons. Throughout the opening, we get shots that make it look like the images on screen are coming in and out of focus, like someone is adjusting the camera lens while filming. We also get shots that make it look like the camera is shaking, and we get some of the static you would see on an old television set. These are interesting effects. There's a lot of time and aging symbolism in this opening, from the butterflies to the moon to the fuse. This makes sense, seeing that time is a focus throughout the show. The children are aware that they have a deadline. We constantly hear the sound of a clock ticking inside the house, and the trio is standing on top of a clock in the show's poster. Thank you for watching the video. So what did you think of this analysis? Did I miss anything? Do you agree or disagree with anything I said in the video? Do you have a favorite piece of symbolism that is featured in the opening credits sequence? Let us know in the comments below. Don't be afraid to like and subscribe. Check out our other videos if you haven't already. Be sure to share this video, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Bye!